We went to National Trail Speed Raceway for the
Yes.
James National Tournament. The vendors were great, giving out plenty of free stuff. And who doesn't like free stuff? I mean, not only did we learn more about cars in general, we met some really nice and talkative drivers who shared their stories with us. And now our feature presentation. The first man we talked to was Dave Pence, who dealt with the technical and mechanical side of the two-man team he was a part of with Chuck Wilder. Dave is from Buffalo, New York, and is a pretty buff fellow. He travels around the U.S. for many national and divisional races. He has been racing for 45 years, since he was 15 years old. Today, you have to be 16 years old to get your license, as opposed to back then you had to be 16 years old. Anyways, he was self-taught and got better through experience and learning from older people. The car they use is a 1968 Corvette Stingray. This car does not look or act anything like a Stingray, because that would be weird. His car costs are mainly entry fees at $10,000, gas, and motor fixes.
Our second interview was of Paul Adams, who is the driver and technician of his car. He was raised on a farm, so he grew up with driving and even fixed his own car when he was 16. The car he drives now is a '64 Ford Fairlane that was restored in 1990. The car is classified as a Super Stock B, and Adams once won runner-up in his class during a race. He has aluminum seats in his car, which make it lighter and better fitted for his class. His car uses 118 octane fuel, which costs about $22 per gallon. The engine alone is worth $50,000, while the whole car is worth $60,000. Adams also started his own concrete business when he was younger, and that is how he can afford to compete in this expensive sport. Adams also left us with a valuable life lesson to go to college, not just to play pool, but to actually learn.
Look at those big wheels. The next man we talked to was Leo Zinda. He started racing in 1970. He taught himself how to drive when he was little. He lives up in Clinton Township, up in Wolverine Territory in Michigan. He built both of his cars, a 67 Chevelle and a 70 Cavalier that has been remodeled. The car shown here is the 70 Cavalier. His gas for this car costs about $7 a gallon, and he races all around the U.S. No, this does not include Canada, Chris Morgan.
The driver and technician of the 1991 S10 truck is Matt Ball. His dad is also a racer and the man who inspired Matt to race. However, Matt's fiance's father is the person who taught him how to race. The truck he drives now was his first car, and he bought it when he was 18. The truck is classified as a Super Street automatic and has to weigh 2,800 pounds. The engine costs $3,500 and the car costs $5,000 altogether.
After some convincing from his wife, Steve Theodore agreed to show us his 1963 Corvette.
What a
We
nice
saw many
guy.
of these cars out on the track that day of the same model. He has been racing since he was a teenager at age 15 because the sport was popular in his neighborhood. He drove a Camaro at the beginning of his racing career. His neighbors taught him the basics of car racing and maintenance, providing him with the skills to excel at the sport. He spends a decent amount of money on racing. Gas costs $2.50 per gallon, and his engine costs him $15,000. The second 1963 Corvette of the day was owned by Bill Johnson. Bill graduated from high school in 1976, and the people of his hometown of Fort Wayne, Indiana were, quote, all about cars. The first car he owned and loved was a 1962 Chevy Impala. However, his first races were not on the racetrack. Bill's first experience with racing was street racing on back roads. He says his need for speed earns him about 3 speeding tickets per year. He spends quite a lot on his car. His engine alone is worth $30,000, and gas costs about $175 per year for his 6 miles per gallon tank. He has been racing around the Midwest since 1985 and predicts he spends about $8,000 to $10,000 a year on maintenance.
I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings in the movies, and I'm not proud of my address. In a torn up town, no postcode envy, but every